Welcome, everybody, to the Iowa State Cyclones Live here on the Voice of College Football Network. I'm Levi Stevenson, and we're here for Postgame. Everybody joining in. Appreciate everybody coming in, talking the Cyclones, who are finally back off the schneid. We're going streaking. Yeah, this is a funny one because Matt Campbell noted like gold uniform piece hater. Has now gotten off his 4-game losing streak by wearing gold pants for the first time since 2016. So that's pretty funny. I would say wins a game. Everyone thought they'd lose, and Iowa lost a game. Everyone thought they'd win. Life is good. That's exactly right. I couldn't. We'll obviously talk about this a lot. I did put, for anybody that's in the Discord, I put the link in the Discord. If any of you guys want to call in and actually, talk on the show, love to have anybody that wants to jump on. If anybody in the comments that isn't in our Discord wants to do that, let me know and I'll throw it in the I'll just throw it in the comments right now. Let me throw the link in the comments. Bang. So for anybody that wants to call into the show and have a conversation, your link there is in the comments. Obviously we are here because Iowa State is a winner. 21-18 over TCU. I know coming into this game, myself, like a lot of people, myself included, gave Iowa State a fairly low chance of winning this game. The defense was obviously banged up all to hell. The offense had been playing so poorly. Rocco had been playing really poorly. And 20-17, 21-18, 20. It's 20-17. That's my bad. Let me just edit this real quick because I'm a dumbass. 20-17, not 21-18. I'm allowed to make shit up, okay? This is my show. Let me see, it's fine. Everything's fine. I would say wins 20-17. It's a game that like not a lot of people had a lot of hopes for Iowa State to win necessarily, just because of the injuries and the offense playing so poorly. And we were all just kind of like, TCU's got a really good offense. Josh Hoover's a good quarterback, and their defense was good enough. And it was just one where it's like, it's on the road. We never play well in Fort Worth. And and frankly, the game, it's interesting because the game offensively started out like all of them, basically, which is missing pass. Rocco's missing throws left and right. Receivers are dropping the ball. They're running the ball pretty well, but they're not really sticking with the run, or they're not using it enough, probably. And they do go down and get a touchdown, then fail on a 2-point conversion. So you're up 6-0. But the defense stepped up really. I mean, the defense played an unbelievable football game. Like they were so good. And I know it says they gave up 17 points. 7 of that, at least one touchdown of them was literally it was given to TCU by the officiating. It was not their fault. They got hosed they got hosed in the middle of the drive on a penalty that was Caleb Bacon got a late hit penalty after he was pushed in the back into Josh Hoover. So that should have been a 25-yard swing the other direction. And then once they got to the goal line, Trey Bell got called for a holding penalty when his face mask got grabbed. And Tyler chiming in here, are we back? The evidence does appear to be damning that the Iowa State Cyclones are indeed fucking back. So yes, thank you for the question. So, but so TCU was essentially gifted a touchdown by the officiating. It's not even really there's really no two ways about it. It was objectively the wrong call. It's not a subjective thing. TCU should have finished with 10 points, not 17. They put up yards on the board. They did. They finished with, let me see here. Actually, just pull up the stats. Let me just pull up the stats so everybody can see. So in general, so Iowa State finished at 272, TCU at 432. So, I mean, the final numbers are not like super, not super like gaudy from Iowa State by any stretch, but it was important though. They generally, TCU generally didn't do a lot. They did run for like 113 yards, but it was on like a lot of carries. They were, 3.8 yards rush. I would say got 3.9. But it really felt like when Iowa State needed the run game to do something, it was always able to get it to do something. Where TCU, like, they never had long runs. There's like every run was like 3 yards basically. That 3.8 is a lot of 3 and 4 yard runs. And where Iowa State had, a couple zeros and a couple negative ones, but they also had like they were gashing them at times. And so Iowa State's run game felt pretty reliable. But you look at the defense. Really, the key here though, they turned over TCU 3 times, and actually nearly a 4th time on the last drive too, where Quentin Taylor was like, an inch away from having that pick to seal the game. And, it was overall just an unbelievable performance by the defense. They deserve so much credit. They've been put through, they've gone through hell and back, that group, just with all the injuries and everything. And actually in Fred are absolutely right here. O-line with another great game. Fred says we got hosed multiple times by the ref tonight. 4. I can think of 2. I mean, the 2 on that one drive that were like objectively the wrong call, like just period. They were the wrong call. There's like no subjectivity about it. It was just the wrong call. I remember those 2 for sure. I'm not sure what the other 2 you're talking about are, but I'm sure it happened. So the defense though has been they've been going through shit. I mean, obviously anybody that's watching this is well familiar with all the injuries that have gone through. They've gone through hell and back, and they continued to go through hell this week. Jamison Patton was out. Ben Inagoye was out. So, I mean, they're down everybody. And you come in and, Dom Orange goes down with the turn angle earlier in the game. Now he is fine, I think. Then later in the game, Caleb Bacon goes down and he gets taken to the locker room and he's done for the game. So now Caleb Bacon's down. And then you also have Marcus Neal go down at one point. I believe he finished the game, but Marcus Neal went down at one point. Even during the game, Iowa State had a number of injuries on top of what they already had going on. So I mean, just continued horrid luck. But man, they gave up a couple long pass plays that TCU just found a spot in the scheme in the middle of the field, and it just kind of is what it is. I really didn't see anything major today as far as there's like a couple plays and they're going to happen when you have freshmen, but I didn't really see any major plays where it just felt like Iowa State had no hope, or where there was like a really bad, it was a really bad misstep or a guy made a huge mistake or something like that. They didn't have, TCU didn't bust off a really, really long passing touchdown or anything like that. It was a lot of 12-yard completion with a couple yards after the catch type of thing. And so I thought the defense did a great job of keeping TCU in front of them and making them march up the field. They did a great job with that. It was just a super impressive performance. They got hosed in the red zone a couple times, especially the once, but so I'm not real. TCU was technically 3 or 4 in the red zone, but one was a field goal and one the defense got straight up hosed on. So overall, but it was when they needed to make a play, they did. For me, at minimum, the defensive player of the game, but maybe just the player of the game entirely, is Trey Bell. Trey Bell had by far his best game as a Cyclone. He was awesome. Let me pull up, because he had a couple picks, and he let me see here. Or I guess he had one, but Trey Bell had the one early in the game, and then Josh Patterson had the other one. But he also broke up a number of passes and somehow managed to get a holding penalty while getting his face mask ripped off, which is fairly impressive. But this was Trey Bell's best game. They targeted him a number of times. He never there was never a spot where you felt like he was out of place or anything like that. He was awesome. Trey Bell was really, really good. And it feels like that was the game where he finally got up to speed, and it felt like he wasn't having to play catch up. He wasn't having to just try to fit into this defense and just kind of, fake it till you make it type of thing. Finally, this game looked like Trey Bell made it. He's here. He's a really good player. And, this should be a tremendous confidence boost for him, going throughout the rest of the season and going into next season. I believe he has a year of eligibility left after this. So, I think that was awesome for Trey Bell. He's probably my player of the game. Cooper Ebel was amazing too. Cooper Ebel had some really, really great plays. Drew Sturgis had a couple rough plays, but also broke up a couple passes. Thought he was really good. Marcus Neal broke up, or Marcus Neal got in the backfield a couple times, made some nice plays. Jace Gilbert had a nice TFL early in the game. Dom Orange had a nice TFL earlier in the game. Overall, I was really impressed with his defense. They're having to deal with so much adversity right now, that it's just, all the credit in the world goes to them. We were all frustrated for most of that game because the defense was playing well enough that the offense should have been up a couple of touchdowns. But they just weren't. The offense just still wasn't doing anything, and it is what it is. But man, down the stretch, it was so impressive how they were able to shut TCU down. It was awesome. Let me pull up TCU's drive chart here. So, they got this is their drive chart. So they only really got the one touchdown. Or they got two touchdowns on consecutive drives there, but down the stretch, punt, fumble, where am I at here? Yeah. So down the stretch, you start the game off interception, punt, interception, downs, and then you finish the game punt, fumble, end of the game. Like when Iowa State takes the lead and you need big stops from your defense down the stretch, or is within contention of the lead, and you need big stops from your defense down the stretch. Finishing punt, fumble with your main defensive drives is super awesome. They got stuff when they needed to, and it was so impressive. However, the play of the game, I'm sure nobody is surprised by, is definitely Aiden Flores punt return. I'm gonna see if I can pull up see if anybody on Twitter's got a clip of it real quick, because I haven't had a chance to go back through. I haven't had a chance to go back through like the YouTube TV and clip anything just yet. I'm gonna see if oh yeah, we've got clips. Let me pull this thing up. All right, just so we can all enjoy this. All right. He kind of bobbled this initially, and I was like, ooh, nice little move there. Got around. This is where I started going, go Aiden, go Aiden, go Aiden, go Aiden, go Aiden, go Aiden. Oh, how can you not be romantic about Iowa State football? Just, but as Fred says here, Tyler Perkins also had a great game. Yeah, so Tyler's got a good point here. So the offense did enough. So for three quarters, that was not true, and 3.5 quarters really. The offense struggled all day. Rocca was missing throws. Receivers were dropping inexplicable passes. There were a couple times where they dropped a pass, and then Chase Soule caught another one and immediately turned around and got the first down. So they made a couple plays. Ben Bramer had a nice play early in the game. Also, shout out Ben Bramer for catching a touchdown pass a week after what happened last week, where we all thought he might never play again. He went to the hospital, and frankly, maybe worse than that. But shout out to Ben Bramer. That's incredible. It's a miracle that he was able to do that. But let me tell you what, on that long drive that they went on at the end there, let me pull that up. It'd be the second last scoring drive, not the what am I thinking of? Not the punt return, obviously, but the one before that got them to 12 points. That long drive, I think I hope and I think that was the drive that Rocco snapped out of it. Because from there on, at the beginning of that drive, the beginning of that fourth quarter, it appeared to me as though Rocco said, "Fuck this! I am tired of. I'm tired of missing throws. I'm tired of this not working." He went out there, made a couple plays, and then, um, goes out and rips off like a 50-yard run. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so Rocco, scrambled up the middle. Da-da-da. How long was that run? Rushing big plays. Was it only 25 yards? God, I would have thought it'd been more than that. Anyways, so Rocco had that run of 25 yards, and then the next play right after that, Carson goes for another 24 yards. I mean, back to back right there. They go down. They finish out the drive. It was awesome. And the next drive, they need to do something to try to close this game out. And they don't necessarily need to score, but they need to close this thing out. They get the ball with like 5.5 minutes left. I think that's what it was, 5.5, 5:12. Yeah. So a little over 5 minutes left. They need to kill clock. They need to kill as much clock as they can. They go down, they get to a third down, and Rocco, they're going to need to throw. We're all sitting on our hands and knees. It was, and then he throws an absolute laser beam to convert the third down. It was, that was vintage Rocco. That was like, he made exactly the throw that needed to happen at exactly the right time. And it was beautiful. It was so good. Like watching that play happen it was cathartic. It just felt like, oh my God, like that's the Rocco we've grown to know and love over the years. That was the guy that we've been waiting to see for the last month since the Arizona game. Really, we've been waiting to see that guy, and he stepped up, and the defense won Iowa State the game, but that play was the nail in the coffin. That was such a good play. From there on, Iowa State was able to move along, and just keep burning clock. Then they got to their own 42-ish yard line, got to 4th and 1. They got to go, and you can either punt it and give them the ball back with like 2 minutes left, or you can go for it and get it and damn near seal the game out. Well, Taylor Mauser, who has, while I have disagreed with it, has gotten a lot of flack over the last month, because the offense hasn't been good. Naturally, the offensive coordinator is one of the first places you look to besides Rocco. And actually, because of how the Iowa State lore or the online presence works out, you're generally inclined to go after the coordinator before the quarterback. But you can say what you want about some of the play calling, like on the goal line, the 2-point conversion, stuff like that. But calling that fake pitch naked bootleg on 4th and 1 was diabolical. That was the best play call of the whole night. They did a good job on other stuff, but man, that fake pitch naked bootleg that converted that 4th down is, frankly, that was what, that play call alone was what sealed the deal. That functionally ended the game at that point. Iowa State was able to, click some clock down. TCU did get the ball back with like 30 seconds, and the defense made a couple nice stops, but TCU never really threatened at all. There was the kind of weird like pitch, the backyard pitch situation at the end that never really, it went on for forever, but it never really got that close. Never really threatened or anything like that. It was hell to sit through. But that's right. That play call is, oh shit, Mouse is back on his bullshit. That's exactly right. I love the play call there. That whole fourth quarter was a get right quarter for Iowa State. That was back to Mouse being creative in play calling situations. That was Rocco making great throws and being creative with his legs and doing damage with his legs. That was the receivers making clutch catches and clutch catches down the stretch. That was winning. That was winning football in the fourth quarter, and that was the first time we'd seen it since I don't know when. as far as the second half performance goes, that was the best second half performance we've seen since Iowa, Kansas State, maybe even. I mean, that was great as far as a fourth quarter performance goes. Um, it was awesome. So Brand says, you know how we always say not to leave the game to the refs to decide. The fourth quarter, we finally played to not let Bad Rocco decide the game. Would have been good. That yeah, totally. I mean, there was the objectively terrible calls that gave him the touchdown was early enough in the game where that was not going to be like the deciding factor. It sucked in real time, but that wasn't going to be the deciding factor. And I mean, at halftime, Rocco's stat line was horrible. Iowa State had 6 points when they should have had about 21. And we were all kind of talking, saying, like, hey, like, is Iowa State going to have to figure something out here? Because it had been a month since Rocco had been good. I mean, no, like Matt Campbell, like say, he'll never throw his quarterback under the bus. He's always going to support Rocco, and that's what he's supposed to do. That's his job. But when you look at when you just kind of look at how he'd been playing, what he'd been doing, I mean, he'd been playing bad for a month, basically for the ever since the Cincinnati game, he'd been playing poorly, and he was still playing poorly. So we're all like, how much longer does this have to go on before they make a change, or they at least, they give Mansky or Moberly a drive or something like that, or a quarter or whatever. Yeah, Fred, I'm totally on board with you. Pretty good play calling all game, except for the first fake PAT. I'm totally with you there. I've talked about this on number of episodes of things I record during the week before, but in general, if there are wide open receivers on a play or a running play is well blocked and gets yardage, it was a good play call. 95% of Taylor Mauser's play calls are good play calls. They just are. They get wide receivers wide open. They give Rocco throws that he can make. They give receivers throws that they can catch. It was, I thought it was a well called game by Mauser for the most part. There was a couple of them I didn't love, but 95% of them were really good. Brian says, I do wish more QB run package. We saw more QB run package stuff. Finally set with Moberly in the fourth. It was on that scoring, or it was on the scoring drive. We saw Mansky come in to do a QB power for one play, and then they scored. And then on the 2-point conversion, Moberly came in. They didn't get it. I didn't hate the play call. I thought it was kind of weird. I didn't love how wide Moberly was trying to get. Like I thought Moberly needed to get downhill faster. I didn't hate the play call there though. But yeah, we actually saw both of those quarterbacks. It's kind of unfortunate that we'd burned Mansky's third redshirt game on one QB power play, but it is what it is. It's fine. You won the game, and that's literally the only thing that matters. And theoretically, Rocco's here for another year, so you'd have another year. You have another year after this before ideally Mansky or somebody takes over after Rocco. Yeah, so Flores for 2 returns tonight, first in South Dakota. Need more of them returning, not for catches. Yeah. Obviously, Aiden Flora returning punts worked out pretty well, and I think they will let him continue to do that. Yeah. If Rocco's shoulder is hurt, I totally am fine with them putting in Mansky or Moberly for run packages. I have no problem with that. You could almost instead of having those guys in, you could probably justify just putting another running back in and just not having a quarterback on the field and just running Wildcat. Basically, if you're going to do something like that, just not having a quarterback on the field isn't the worst idea. Just put Sama and Hansen on the field at the same time and let one of them take a direct snap on a Wildcat or something like that. If you know for a fact that you're going to run it, and I realize, you're setting up for yourself at some point in a game, you bring in Mansky or Moberly, the defense is oh, this is the running quarterback, and then you do a pop pass or something like that. Yes, theoretically that can happen, but unless you're really, really banking on teams, sitting on that, I think if you're going to take Rocco out for a running play, just run a Wildcat and bring 2 running backs in. I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. Hansen at Wildcat, better hands for the direct snap. I mean, Sama takes direct snaps too, man. I think either of them can handle it. But overall though, the defense deserves the credit for the win here, but the offense did the fourth quarter offense did exactly what it needed to do to win that game, and I thought Rocco was great in the fourth quarter. That win is cathartic. It feels good. It feels like it's a win that just needed to happen. um, you know, I mean, not just because you want to win. I mean, you want to win every game, and you want to get to bowl game and all that. Yeah, but when you're for this one was just a like it felt like the last 4 weeks they were so close to winning all those. And frankly they should have won all four of those. And you just feel like this isn't a game where it could have gotten away from you. It's a close game. In the fourth quarter makes it. Maybe the drive stalls out too quick or whatever. Um, it felt late like a game that could get away from you. And you know this has been a situation in the past where you have the defense just needs to make one final stop. They've been awesome all day, but they just need to make one final stop and they can win the game. And then they don't make the stop because they're exhausted and they're just totally burnt. They're just totally burnt out. They've got no depth, all this forever. But the defense steps up. The defense stepped up and they won the. I mean, it was just a fantastic performance. Lots of people deserve credit. The defense first and foremost. The offensive line had a great game. Rocco was never really. There was a couple times where they got like a little bit of pressure on him, but they never. I don't believe they actually registered a sack. The running game, generally speaking, had pretty good run to room all day. I thought the offensive line did a nice job, and then Rocco in the fourth quarter did a great job. The receivers still need to figure their shit out. They were terrible. The receivers were really awful today. The tight ends did the only notable pass catching outside of a couple plays. But, Chase Soul dropped a wide open one. He made it up after that and got the first down, but he dropped a couple open ones. I think Carson Brown dropped an easy first down catch. I mean, it's just the pass catching chops of the receivers right now is a joke. But aside from them, pretty much everybody had a good day today. As good a day as you could ask them to have. I would say, they turned it over twice, but they did a good job of recovering from that and not giving up points on the turnovers. Can we get March to come in and get them sorted? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they need to do with the receivers. If it's a personnel issue, if it's a coaching issue, do we need to have a hard conversation with Noah Pauley at the end of the season? I mean, if it was like a 1 or 2 game thing and then they just got it fixed and then, then it's fine. It's no big deal. Their drops have been going on pretty much the entire season and it was still bad again today. And those have not been fixed. And, if you have a guy that does it once in a while, they drop a couple this game and then they go 5 or 6 games and then they maybe drop a couple another game. Then that's just this player needs to be more consistent. But the drops are consistent across the entire receiver room from top to bottom. Every single one of them has drop problems. To me, that sounds like a position coach not doing his job. Does that mean he needs to get fired? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that they either don't have they don't have good enough personnel in that room, or they don't have a good enough position coach. But the personnel is also the responsibility of the position coach. So, for the most part. So, that needs to get I think a minimum that needs to get reevaluated if Noah Pauley is doing a good enough job. It's just totally the receiver play is just totally unacceptable. But I'm not going to focus on the negative today because I would say one, and that is the most important part. They won a close game. They didn't poop it down their leg at the end. They didn't give up the touchdown. They did not give up a touchdown on the last drive before half. They let him get into the red zone, but they stopped him at the goal line and then TCU doinks the field goal. Even if they just given up the field goal there, that's still a pretty decent outcome compared to what they've been giving up, which is a touchdown. And yes. So Fred, as of right now, we're headed for Levi's favorite bowl. We need more wins. We need either stop winning or we need to win out. Because right now you're on a freight train barreling towards the Liberty Bowl, which is going to be a bad time for everyone. What's Memphis sitting at? Is Memphis Is Memphis going to be good enough to miss that? I know they've like been pretty good this year. Memphis is 8-2. Oh fuck. So if Iowa State goes 7, if Iowa State loses to Kansas, which Kansas is not very good, but if Iowa State loses to Kansas, beats Oklahoma State, and finishes 7-5, we may be screaming down the rails towards another Liberty Bowl against like 9-3 or 10-2 Memphis. So, someone needs to lose more. I don't know if Memphis. Well, the problem is if Memphis needs to keep winning, so that way they are theoretically in a better bowl than the Liberty Bowl. They've got East Carolina, who's terrible. I'm pretty sure they're awful. Oh, I know they're not. They're 6-3. They could lose that, and then Navy, who is 7-1. I said Navy, I think is pretty decent. So they've got 2 tough-ish games coming up. Memphis could lose a couple of those. They could win them both, but they could lose a couple of those. And so unfortunately right now the Iowa State is screaming down the rails towards another Liberty Bowl against Memphis, which would be hella dumb, and I hope we don't do that. So Iowa State needs to win out so that we can go to the one above the Liberty Bowl. Because just awful. There's no shot I would go to a Liberty Bowl. All right. If anybody wants to call in and ask some questions, have a little conversation, more than welcome. You're more than welcome to. I believe the link is in the comments. It's in the Discord for sure. I will put it again in the comments. Give it a few minutes in case anybody wants to call in and ask questions and have a conversation, all that good stuff. But just a satisfying good win for Iowa State today. I mean, I can't tell you how good it feels. It's and looking at the Discord at the game thread, that way pointing out that we are on a bye next weekend, which is actually awesome. You get to go into a bye week off a win, and you get to take 2 weeks to prepare for Kansas, which is notoriously a shitty matchup for you defensively. So it gives you some time to prep for that, and now you can go and be on a positive note heading into the bye game. Oh, I love this quote. Jamie Plunkett on Twitter posted like this is that from Sonny Dykes in the postgame said this is an Iowa State type football game. We fell right into their hands. Love that. Here, I'll share my screen here. Oh, wait. Da-da. There we go. Oh, wait. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Obviously, type football game, we fell right into their hands. Nice. Love it. Let's see if he should have quotes from the rest of that. Yeah. Josh Over's a bit banged up. Got to change some things, get better. I wonder if, I'm trying to think who'd be at the press conference tonight for Iowa State. That someone's got, does Hines have any good quotes? Let's see if Hines got stuff. Whoops. Oh, God. I don't need to shoot out a tweet. Let's see here. A little fun peek behind the curtain for everybody at the Iowa State, at the Wide Right Twitter. Let's see here. Apparently nobody's at the press conference today. Well, is what it is. But if anybody wants to jump in, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I think we'll probably wrap it up for tonight. So, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope everybody enjoyed Iowa State's win. It was good. Feels good to go into a bye week off of that. And Rob Gray's a good idea. I know CW went to the game with his family, but I don't think he's at the press conference because he's got his family with him. Let's see if Rob Gray. Nope, not even Rob Gray's got any. So is what it is. Tyler and says feel good. It feels good, man. Hell yeah, it does, brother. So, all right, everybody. I'm gonna wrap her up this week. Yeah, Kansas also does have a bye. they're kind of in rough shape. They have personnel issues more than anything. But we're gonna wrap her up for this week. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Tuesday for the normal show at 7 p.m. Central. So everybody, thank you for watching, and we will see you again Tuesday. Thanks.